Mr. Squidward. Welcome to the night shift.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the night shift. I hope everybody enjoyed Thursday night football. My name is Lauro Antonio, and hope everybody's having a great evening here on this fine Thursday night, and also Friday morning, wherever you may be in the East Coast, and all that good stuff. So, anyways, we got a lot to talk about tonight, as we are going to be recapping the Panthers and Texans Thursday night football matchup. And then we're also going to be talking about, on our NBA segment today, we're going to be talking about, is Ben Simmons done with the Philadelphia 76ers, which is a topic that everybody wants to know, and can't wait to give you my opinion on that. And then for baseball, we'll talk about the A's and Mariners game, and along with the Dodgers beating the Rockies in extra innings. So anyways, let's start off by going to our comments section. So Penguano and Friends just said something, and he said, "What's up, Lauro? Happy Thursday to you." Penguano, thank you for coming on to the show here. And he also wants to know where Isaiah is. I mean, Isaiah's probably out with his family tonight for dinner. So just wanted to get that out there as well. But first things first here, we are going to start things off by recapping the Carolina Panthers and Houston Texans Thursday night football showdown. Also, before we get to that, please be sure to hit a like and subscribe button on our YouTube page, and also like and subscribe and follow the MI6 network on our social media pages, such as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And this show is being streamed on YouTube and on Twitch, so just check us out there. And also go on the MI6 Sports website, and also subscribe, and also check out our articles and blogs and podcasts on that website as well. So I'm filling in for Callan McClurg as the interim host for the night shift. And when he comes back, then he and I will be co-hosting this show, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. All right. So the Panthers beat the Houston Texans by the final of 24-9. And I'll tell you what, let's start with the good. Sam Darnold played a great football game. And although that his career kind of got derailed by Adam Gase and the Jets, I feel like that Sam Darnold's in the right situation in Carolina. I now believe that he is their franchise quarterback. And I feel like that Sam Darnold, he's thriving under Matt Rule and also Joe Brady. And I think this is a good offensive system for him. He's got Robbie Anderson, his former Jet teammate, joining him. And DJ Moore had a fantastic night. The Carolina defense played fantastic. And also, let's talk about the bad news. So Christian McCaffrey suffered a significant hamstring injury. If my thoughts on that is that you can't lose a player like that. I mean, Christian McCaffrey makes the offense go for the Carolina Panthers. And then J.C. Horn, their bright defensive back, suffered a broken foot, and that's something not to be messed with. He probably will be missing the season. And for McCaffrey, hopefully it's not a serious hamstring injury, as you guys all know. So for the Texans, I mean, Davis Mills, he did what he can, but I just felt like that this was such a short week with no Tyrod Taylor. The Texans just did not have it today, especially in offense, and scoring just one touchdown. But Joey Slide missed the extra point, so that was kind of the Texans for you right there. So I just think that Matt Rule, Joe Brady, Phil Snow, they're doing a great job in making this Carolina Panthers team competitive. And Matt Rule has done a very good job in rebuilding teams, like he did at Temple, He did at Baylor, and now with the Carolina Panthers. So I really think he is the right head coach for the Carolina Panthers, and I think Sam Darnold is their franchise quarterback moving forward. So, anyways, that's all I got here for Thursday Night Football. I thought it was a great game all around by the Carolina Panthers, and Sam Darnold just continues to thrive. And I feel like that the Panthers are in a similar situation than the Tennessee Titans were in 2019. When Mariota got benched, Ryan Tannehill came in, and the Titans went to the AFC Championship game. I think this Carolina Panthers team is in a similar situation, and they could be a team that nobody goes for in the playoffs. And I think this Carolina Panthers team is definitely the second best team in the NFC South right now, behind the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We have a comment from Ishmael Lancaster. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. So Joe Brady, if he keeps it up soon, will be a very hot commodity for a head coaching gig. I definitely agree. Like, say, for example, if the Bengals fire Zach Taylor, then Joe Brady is the man for the Bengals to hire as their next head coach. All right. So, anyways, now moving on here, as the Chicago Bears head coach Matt Nagy announced that Justin Fields will start for the Chicago Bears on Sunday in place for the injured Andy Dalton for their game against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. I'm going to give you my take on this. Matt Nagy, if you're watching, you should have started Justin Fields week 1. Andy Dalton is washed up. He's not good anymore. Nick Foles should have been the backup quarterback. And then what I was going to say is that Andy Dalton should have been the third string quarterback as well. So Isaiah Leong said something like, "What's up, Loro? Thanks for holding down the fort. Might be able to pop in a few." And I'm like, and I said, Isaiah, I mean, I'm doing the best I can to hold down the fort with nobody available today, and hope you're having fun with your family dinner here. So, anyways, Isaiah Leong mentioned that he is tagging Christy Wilson, Jonathan Mathis, Denise Guzman, Furman Lee, Casey King, and Justin Mount Drew Balsman to hop on and make comments into this program tonight. So, my thoughts on the Bears starting Justin Fields is that, like I said, he should have started week 1, and I say that because Justin Fields has that potential to be a franchise quarterback, and I feel like that the Bears' offense would have been more fun with Justin Fields under center and also throwing the ball downfield to Allen Robinson. But I just think that Andy Dalton is not the man right now. I mean, he's now a backup quarterback. I have said that before the season. Matt Nagy should have went with Justin Fields week 1, and since he went with Andy Dalton, I was like, Bears should fire Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace because they're both puppets to the Chicago Bears front office. So, anyways, how I expect Justin Fields to play against the Cleveland Browns on Sunday, I expect him to have a good debut. But I just think that the Cleveland Browns defense is going to be scary. But I think they're going to give Justin Fields a challenge. But I'm saying is that I think that the Chicago defense is not going to show up that game just because Cleveland's got a running game with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think those two guys on the Browns will be the reason why the Cleveland Browns are going to win this game. And I think Baker Mayfield's going to have a field day against that defense. So, anyways, let's go back to our comment section. Justin Bosman just tuned in, and he said, I love Justin Fields with the Bears. I'm like, this is a good spot for him. I think he will be way better than Mitchell Trubisky, because Mitchell Trubisky, that what was labeled a bust in Chicago, and fans did not even like him in Chicago. And here's a question that he has for us here. Does Matt Nagy save his job with Justin Fields? I'm like, I believe so, but let's see how the Bears do down the stretch, and we'll determine that if Matt Nagy saves his job. I just don't think he's the right head coach for the Chicago Bears. I don't think he's a good play caller on offense because Matt Nagy just calls boneheaded plays. And how I feel about that is that Matt Nagy is just calling plays And sometimes those plays don't work out, especially going forward on fourth down, choosing to punt or kick it deep or something like that. There's just too many boneheaded moves for Matt Nagy. So, anyways, now moving on here, let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers now. So they have reached out to free agent defensive back Richard Sherman as injuries continue to mount their secondary. But given the injuries and the fact that the Buccaneers want to win another Super Bowl, should the Bucs sign Richard Sherman? I'm like, I think they should get a shot at it just because I feel like that Richard Sherman wants to get another ring. And I think he could teach these young defensive backs on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to be pros. And Richard Sherman can still get it done and play at an elite level. He could really be a good mentor to Antoine Winfield Jr. And Sean Murphy Bunting's kind of a big blow. Carlton Davis is not bad at all. So I think that having Richard Sherman there with Brady and Gronk and Leonard Fournette, I think that's a Super Bowl team right there for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I think they want to go for two. And I do believe that Tampa Bay is going to go for two here. So anyways, folks, so now moving on here, but we're going to go back here to our comments section. So Justin Bosman says, yeah, Matt Nagy's play calls are terrible. I totally agree. That's why I think he's not the right head coach for the Chicago Bears, even though he's an offensive-minded head coach. And then he also said thoughts on Tom Brady calling out Bill Belichick. Tom Brady's trainer calling out Bill Belichick and the Patriots. And I'm going to say here, I have no comment about that just because I don't really pay attention to those type of things. I just pay attention to Tom Brady having a good Patriots career. And I look forward to seeing Tom Brady make his return to Foxborough next Sunday when the Patriots host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As coming from a Patriots fan myself, I do miss Tom Brady on the Patriots, but I just think that just move on already. I mean, Alex Guerrero can say what he wants. So anyways, now let's talk about the 49ers. So as the 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said that he did not completely rule out the 49ers signing their legendary running back and Frank Gore. He spent the majority of his career there before going to the Colts, playing for the Dolphins, and playing for the New York Jets. But I'm going to say here, with the 49ers running back core developed by injuries, would Gore be a good fit for the 49ers? I'm like, absolutely. I mean, you got Elijah McGuire, Trey Sherman. Those guys are not bad, but you have to add Frank Gore into that mix. Now that Raheem Mostert's hurt, and I think that he could really be a mentor to these young backs to the San Francisco 49ers, which I think that is definitely the case there. So anyways, I also think that the 49ers, I don't think right now they should go for running back. I think my opinion is that they should start Trey Lance already. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo is good when he's healthy, but I just feel like that the Niners need to open up a new era of 49er football, and they should go with Trey Lance. And everybody's going to love him up there, and he is the Trey area, that's for sure. So, anyways, let's talk about next the Week 3 games that I'm looking forward to the most. First of all, I'm looking forward to when the New England Patriots host the New Orleans Saints, and looking to see Mac Jones continue his upward progress. And I also say that because Mac Jones has been very impressive in his first 2 games of the season of his NFL career, and he's already shown to me and to everybody out there in Patriot Nation that he is the future face of the franchise at quarterback for the Patriots. And I also think that for the Saints, what I want to see interested in seeing is Jameis Winston consistent? I mean, he did not have a good game last week against the Panthers. Alvin Kamara, if he's out there and if he has a 100-yard rushing game, then watch out. The Saints offense could be deadly with Alvin Kamara. And also, a healthy Michael Thomas would make things interesting in the passing game. But the Saints passing game isn't that great here. So anyways, the Saints still have a very good defense, as you all know. But we'll talk about more Week 3 games that I'm looking forward to in just a minute. Justin Bosman has a comment here, and he does have a question for me. And he said it is a must-win for Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I'm like, it sure is, absolutely. They're going to go up to a hostile environment playing the 49ers, and I do think the Green Bay Packers will find a way to get a win up there, even though the San Francisco defense is very scary when healthy with Nick Bosa and Arik Armstead when they're on the field, and Javon Kinlaw too. And Justin Bosman has a question for me, and he says, what is your take on Boomer Esiason saying that if he redrafted the NFL draft, he would have drafted Mac Jones #1? And I'm like, I mean, that's not saying much. I mean, I just felt like that when I do my redraft, Trevor Lawrence to me is the #1 pick, and then you draft Zach Wilson #2, and then I would have done this here. Like, I would have put Justin Fields at 3, then Trey Lance to the Broncos, or maybe Trey Lance to the Chicago Bears. But the 49ers do like Trey Lance there, and that's why they call him the Trey area. So, also, David Lucas just joined, and he said Frank Gore to the 49ers would be move. Gore doesn't really have it that much left in the tank. But anyways, we have a surprise. We have my guy Isaiah Leong joining right now, and he's just backstage. So Isaiah's going to come on right now. Didn't even think he would join since he was out to dinner with his family. But Isaiah, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Laurel. Glad to be a part of the night shift with you, even though I'm like 17 minutes late, but still I made it to the program. Had a great dinner with my family. I went to the A's game today, had a great time there. As I went to my final game of the season, because I don't really think the A's are going to make the playoffs now, but we're going to talk about that later on in the show. But it was a great game. Had a lot of fun there. Had a lot of fun with my coworkers that were there. Also had a lot of fun time watching baseball, and also I got to meet Sean Doolittle. There's a picture of me taking a picture with Sean Doolittle after the game. That was super cool, but it was great. It was a great experience, and I'm happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. It turned out really well. So since you're just joining us here, what is your take on the Thursday night game between the Panthers and the Texans? And also thoughts on losing Christian McCaffrey and J.C. Horn? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I was having some audio issues just now, but let's start with the Thursday night game. The Thursday night game, I didn't really get a chance to watch it because I was out to dinner with my family, but I did watch a little bit of the highlights before I came on the program. And, my thoughts on this game were a couple of things. First of all, Davis Mills didn't look that bad. I thought that he played all right. I thought he was confident. I thought that, he was getting the ball out quick. Stuff that, you got to see from young quarterbacks in the NFL when they're making their debut, because, a lot of these guys, they come in, their debuts, and they're not adjusted to the NFL level. They're not adjusted to the speed of the NFL game, so they get the ball out really slow, like Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson are doing right now, and then they end up turning the ball over or getting sacked a bunch. And I didn't really see that issue from Davis Mills. I thought Davis Mills played really good tonight. He was 19 to 28 for 168 yards and a touchdown. I thought he was decent. I don't think that I don't think he's like a Patrick Mahomes type of quarterback. I think he's more of a Alex Smith, Nick Mullins game manager type of a quarterback. He could maybe become the Houston Texans franchise quarterback if he continues to play well, because I really did see a lot of positives from his performance. But, we got to see it as the games continue to transpire and other teams get film and how he's going to adjust. But I thought that it was a really good debut from Davis Mills, and I'm excited to see how he plays next week when the Texans continue their season. As far as the Panthers are concerned, I thought the Panthers played, really good. I know they lost Christian McCaffrey. I believe, Laurel, was that in the second quarter or third quarter of that game?
Second quarter of that game. I saw that, and it didn't look good, but I hope that it's not really a hamstring tear from what I saw.
Yeah, me too. Christian McCaffrey is a dynamic talent, and it would be a shame if the Panthers lost him for the season. But I thought that the Panthers played really, really well. I think they are a for real team. Their defense is really good. Phil Snow has that defense playing outstanding football. They're rallying to the ball. The defensive line is getting after it. The secondary. We'll see how it goes now with J.C. Horn out. That's a big, big loss for them, but they played really well. But I'm really surprised at the offense. We saw how Sam Darnold played with the Jets. He was getting the ball out really slow. He was throwing a lot of interceptions. He was turning over a lot. He was bad in New York, and he goes to Carolina, and the first 3 games, I'm really, really impressed with Sam Darnold. He's efficient. He's getting the ball out really quickly. He is just making the right decisions, something you didn't really see a lot of in New York. This kid is playing outstanding football right now. And, Joe Brady, I believe it was either Ishmael or Justin that mentioned it, that Joe Brady, if he continues doing what he's doing right now, he's going to be a hot commodity this offseason for a head coaching gig, because this guy, like we saw when he was at LSU, he's a phenomenal offensive mind. He masterminded a plan, and him and Joe Burrow led LSU to an undefeated run that they ended up capturing the national title, and they won it all. I believe they won each game by double digits. It was a phenomenal season by Joe Brady and Joe Burrow. He was getting head coaching interviews then in college, and everybody thought that, hey, it's just he's just the product of Joe Burrow and LSU. We'll see how he does with other quarterbacks, and we'll see if he's a real legit great offensive mind, like a Sean McVay, like a Kyle Shanahan, like a Matt LaFleur. We'll see how he does in the NFL. And he was decent last year. He was not that bad, and he was getting great. He was getting a lot of interviews for head coaching jobs this past offseason, and even though he didn't get any of them, he comes back, and now Sam Darnold is playing out of his mind. He's playing really, really good football, transforming the offense from a mediocre offense to a really, really good offense. I'm impressed with what Joe Brady's doing, and I would not be surprised. In fact, I guarantee you he's going to get a head coaching job this offseason, because the Panthers, they're just playing really good football right now. And if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals and I have Joe Burrow on my football team right now and Jamar Chase, if the Bengals season goes down the drain this season, and let's say they finish like 3-14, or they finish 2-15 or something like that, the Bengals should fire Zach Taylor, not at the end of the season, but fire him during the season, so you can be on line one with Joe Brady and his agent to get Joe Brady to Cincinnati to reunite with Joe Burrow, because I think a Joe Brady, Joe Burrow combination would be absolutely lethal in Cincinnati for many, many years to come.
You're absolutely right about that. I agree about Zach Taylor getting fired during the season. I think the Bengals are gonna falter in some parts during the season. I think that the Bengals. I just think Zach Taylor isn't the right fit when it comes to the head coach of the Bengals. I think his offense is kind of erratic and also pathetic, if you know what I mean by that. But Joe Brady should join Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase in Cincinnati. I really think that the Joe Brady and Joe Burrow era should happen, and I totally agree with that. But anyways, I talked about my thoughts on Matt Nagy announcing Justin Fields being the starter in Week 3, and I said Justin Fields should have started Week 1. What is your take on that he's starting against the Cleveland Browns?
Oh, that's good. I thought I was having another audio issue there. But my thoughts on it is that, it was a no-brainer, because the Bears offense has gone completely down the drain with Andy Dalton. They just don't look good at all. And, you got to try something new, because Justin Fields is a guy that can run around. He can extend plays, and he's a guy that can make stuff happen out of nothing. When you look at the Bears right now, their offensive line is garbage. Their wide receivers outside of Allen Robinson is garbage. garbage. Running back, they do have David Montgomery. You cannot have a quarterback just there right now with the Bears. You cannot have a quarterback that's there that is not a mobile quarterback, because that offensive line is so bad that opposing defenses are going to eat up Andy Dalton because he's not mobile at all. He's like a guy that's just stuck in the mud and he can't really move around at all. So I think it's a no-brainer that Justin Fields is going to be starting. I believe Andy Dalton is injured right now, so we wish him nothing but the best, and we wish him a speedy recovery. But Justin Fields starting is an absolute no-brainer because the Bears, they need a guy that can move around in the pocket. That's the Bears' offense problem right now. Their offensive line is so bad, and then they decided to sign a quarterback who's not mobile, which ended up being a recipe for disaster. So I'm all in on Justin Fields starting for the Bears. I think it's the right decision. I think he should keep starting even when Andy Dalton gets healthy.
Absolutely. He should have started week 1 against the Rams. That would have been so much better for the Bears, and that could have saved Matt Nagy's job. And I mentioned earlier in the show that Matt Nagy should have been fired for starting Andy Dalton week 1. And also, if Justin Fields and the Bears go on a good stretch, then maybe that could save Matt Nagy's job. Just his name just surfaces on the hot seat every season. But I'm just hoping that this is the year that Matt Nagy gets the can out of Chicago. So, how do you feel about Fields? How do you think Fields will fare against Cleveland? I talked about this, Isaiah, that I think that the Cleveland Browns defense is scary, and I think that Justin Fields is going to be running for his life, and I think that Myles Garrett's going to be chasing him all around, and I think that the Cleveland offense is going to run all over the Chicago defense because of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. How do you think Justin Fields will fare against a very good Cleveland Browns team, especially their high-octane defense?
I think that Justin Fields is going to struggle a little bit, but it's not going to – he's going to struggle because I don't think the offensive line is going to give him that much time to throw the football. So I think that what's going to end up happening is he's going to be facing a lot of pressure. He's going to be running around a lot. And, Laurel, when you're constantly on the run, opponents, secondary and linebackers, they just sit back and then they just feast. So I think Justin Fields will struggle. I think that he's going to probably throw maybe 1 or 2 interceptions. But I think the Bears should not be deterred just because he puts a stinker on the field and think, oh, my God, he's a bust or whatever, or he's the next bad quarterback to come out of Ohio State. No, you're playing against a really good defense. Your offensive line is terrible. Your quarterback doesn't have time to throw the football because he's constantly getting harassed. So I expect him to struggle. He's going up against a great defense, but I still think the Bears should stick to the plan and start Justin Fields for the rest of the season.
Absolutely. Even when Andy Dalton's healthy, I think that will definitely save Matt Nagy's job. So now I already talked about your 49ers on here, Isaiah, about if they should bring back Frank Gore. We'll get to your thoughts on that. So I talked about Richard Sherman going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you think the Buccaneers should sign Richard Sherman?
If he's cleared of the charges that he had, I believe a couple of months ago when he had that altercation with his wife and his wife's parents, if he's cleared out of those charges, then yes, they should definitely sign him, because right now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are in Super Bowl contention. And Richard Sherman, the last time he was on the football field, he was still decent. He wasn't the Richard Sherman that was in Seattle, but he was still the Richard Sherman that could lock down the opposing team's number 1 wide receiver, and he could come in and go toe-to-toe with those guys and also get a lot of interceptions and get a lot of deflection. So I think that even though he's not the Richard Sherman of old, I think he's still a very productive corner, and I think he's a guy that could help the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense, because right now there's a ton of injuries mounting through their secondary. Sean Murphy Bunting's out. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. They have Carlton Davis on one side. It would be a great addition right now because he could play opposite of Carlton Davis. He could be your number 2 corner. And when Sean Murphy Bunting finally recovers from his injury and he's able to come back, then you can have Murphy Bunting. You can have Carlton Davis as your number 1 and 2, and then Sherman can be your number 3 corner, and he can go up against the opposing team's number 3 wide receiver, which I think will fit him really, really well since he doesn't have the speed right now at this part of his career to go with the number 1s. He's not really can't really go with the number 2s. I think right now you can put him with the number 2s, but then when Murphy Bunting comes back, he's perfect with the number 3, and you have a 3-headed monster with Murphy Bunting, Carlton Davis, and Richard Sherman.
That could be very lethal, that's for sure. So anyways, let's talk about your 49ers now. So I talked about if Kyle Shanahan should bring back Frank Gore. I don't think they should at the moment, but anyways, Kyle Shanahan said that he will not completely rule out the team signing Frank Gore. And with the Niners running back core decimated by injuries with Raheem Mostert, especially since he's done for the season, would Gore be a good fit for the 49ers, Isaiah?
I think they should sign him just because I think that he brings a lot to the table. And, even if you sign him, right, and he doesn't go back to the Frank Gore of the 2011 days, I mean, nobody's really expecting that. But it's not really going to be a high price signing. You're signing him to the league minimum contract. He comes in. He's kind of a guy right now that is I feel like more of a short yardage goal line situation back, and you feed the ball to, go give me 1 yard, go give me 2 yards, go give me 3-4 yards. He's that type of guy. He's a short yardage goal line type of a back. You can hand him the ball and first and go from the 1, give it to him, and he'll power his way to a touchdown. And also, I think he brings a really good leadership skills, and he's a guy that you want to have in the locker room, because Frank Gore, everywhere he's been, players have raved about how he's a great mentor and how he's a guy that keeps the locker room together. And the 49ers locker room, they're already really, really close. They'll be even more closer with the addition of Frank Gore, and he won't be really taking away carries from the young guys like a Trey Sermon, like Elijah Mitchell, and the young guys that they have right now. He's the perfect veteran for this football team because Mostert's out. He's out for the year. So right now they're banking on the 2 rookies in Elijah Mitchell and Trey Sermon. And that said, you need to have a veteran in the room. And I think he would be perfect for that situation. And a perfect complement to Elijah Mitchell, who's a guy that you can give him 20, 25 carries. And also Sermon, you can give him 10, 15 carries as well. He will be the perfect complement to those guys right now for the 49ers. He'll basically be, what Tevin Coleman was, the 49ers. Be that short yardage, goal line type of a back, give you that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yards that you need on those short yardage situations, and also help you punch it in when you need a guy that can just power his way into the end zone.
All right, so we have a comment here, so we want to get to that. Isaiah pulled that up. So does Joe Brady get a head coaching job before Eric Bieniemy? I could see that happening. I mean, I feel like that it could happen. What about you, Isaiah? What do you think?
I think Eric Bieniemy will get a head coaching job this year because he's been passed over many, many times. I think he'll get one maybe in the NFL or maybe in college with USC. We don't know what Mike Bohn and USC is going to do. There's rumors that Eric Bieniemy is at the top of their list. So it could happen. I think Eric Bieniemy will definitely get a head coaching job this offseason. Is Brady going to get one before Bieniemy? I don't know, because it's looking like right now he's the next hot shot guy, like a Kyle Shanahan was in 2016 when he was the offensive coordinator of the Falcons, or when Sean McVay was the hot shot offensive coordinator of the Washington Redskins in 2016, 2017. So I think that I don't know if Brady gets a head coaching shot before Bieniemy, but I think it's going to be Brady and Bieniemy as the 2 hot shot candidates to get a head coaching job.
I think Joe Brady's going to definitely get a head coaching job first. I think it's probably going to be with the Bengals. So anyways, so we talked about week 3 games that I'm looking forward to the most. I talked about Patriots and Saints because I feel like that Mac Jones is going to continue his upward progress. And before you came on air, I was talking about what Jameis Winston on again, if it's the Saints. Is it going to be the good Jameis Winston with 5 touchdown passes, or is it going to be the bad Jameis Winston when he got decked all over that Carolina Panthers defense? The Panthers defense is very, very good, but I think that the Saints, they still have a good defense too, even though they don't have Drew Brees. But I feel like that if Jameis Winston continues to struggle, maybe you turn to Taysom Hill, which I said you should have started him over Jameis Winston. Taysom Hill, you're paying him so much money, and Taysom Hill should get the start because he's a good gadget type player that could move out of the pocket and throw those deep passes. So, Isaiah, when it comes to Patriots and Saints, I want to get your take on this. Do you think the Patriots will win this game, and do you think that Jameis Winston will struggle again?
I'm torn because on one side, Patriots have a really good defense. The Saints have a really good defense as well. I really think that this could be, a defensive battle between the Patriots and the New Orleans Saints. I could definitely see like a 17-16 type of a game, like how it was against the Miami Dolphins when the Patriots played the Miami Dolphins. And I also could see it being like an offensive game where it's like 27-24 because the Saints have a high-powered offense. The Patriots, Mac Jones is kind of a game manager right now, but he does have a lot of great weapons. But I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle. I think it's going to be a battle of the two great defenses. I think that Mac Jones, I think he could struggle in this game because the Saints defense is really, really good, and especially their front seven is really, really good. And the New Orleans Saints, Jameis Winston, sometimes, his eyes get wide when he sees when it's like 3rd and 15 or whatever. He just wants to be the hero and make that home run type of a play. That's what always gets him in trouble. So, I think he's going to struggle. I really do. I think he's going to struggle. But I think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive battle. And I think that, you know what, Laurel, I think – it's really hard because, you also have two great coaches battling as well. But I'm going to have to go with Sean Payton and the veteran Saints team just pulling out a gutsy, gritty defensive battle.
Yeah, but do you think the Patriots will win this game, though?
I think they could win, but if right now I'm probably picking New Orleans because they're the veteran squad.
Yeah, so now let's go back to our comment section here. So Brandon Herrera also said, "Oh, Loro, I like Taysom Hill, but he's not a starting quarterback." Do you have any input on that?
Yeah, sorry about that. I think he's more of a gadget player, to be honest with you, because I watched him and he wasn't really that good of a passer. And I think that's when the Saints started Jameis Winston over him, because Jameis Winston, even though he throws a lot of interceptions, he could throw that ball down the field. And when Taysom Hill throws the football down the field, he always underthrows the football a lot. He's a really good runner, and he's a guy that, kind of could be the next Lamar Jackson, but he's got to improve his passing if he wants to be a franchise quarterback.
Yes, absolutely. So also, Justin Bosman said Julian Edelman will be at the game at halftime, Laurel. I know that. And he said that Julian Edelman will be at the game. And he also said that Julian Edelman will give the Pats a good luck for his retirement speech. And also Brandon Herrera also said Winston's eyes gets wide open like Isaiah Leong's eyes get wide open at McDonald's.
That is true. That is true.
So, and then Justin Bosman said that Julian Edelman will be the secret weapon. And he also said that Julian Edelman will be at the game. He's the secret weapon and will help them win on the sidelines watching the game, because having Julian Edelman there is definitely good for the Patriots, and it's his weekend come Sunday.
Yeah, great player. Wish him all the best post-retirement. And I can't wait to hear his speech on Sunday when he gives it during halftime.
Yeah, I can't wait too. I think that's probably going to be streamed on Patriots.com. So, anyways, Isaiah, what week 3 game are you looking forward to the most? I know you're going to say Packers 49ers since you're going to be working that game.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely number one on my list because I'm going to be working that game. Plus, you have the Niners, great defense. The offense is all right. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers come in with a high explosive offense, so that's going to be a prime time showdown. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting back to work with my coworkers. The other games I'm looking forward to is. Surprisingly, it's the Chiefs versus the Chargers because the Chargers, they have Justin Herbert. They have a pretty good offense. The defense is coming along. And the Chiefs, not a good defense. Patrick Mahomes, high-powered offense. And I want to see how the Chiefs respond after they lost last week and suffered their first September loss, I believe, in the Patrick Mahomes era against the Chargers. I want to see how they respond because I think this could be a really tight game because Loro, that the Chargers have given Patrick Mahomes fits in the past, and Brandon Staley, when he was with Vic Fangio, they gave Patrick Mahomes fits before. So that could be a very, very interesting game. I'm also looking forward to surprisingly, the Cardinals and Rams because, Cliff Kingsbury off to a great start as a head coach. Urban Meyer, not so much. And the Jaguars, I think the Jaguars need to win that game. I really do. Because if they start 0-5 or 0-6 or whatever, the rumors that Urban Meyer will go back to USC is going to get louder and louder and louder. And, I just think that Urban Meyer and I think Trevor Lawrence also needs to show that he's franchise quarterback material since he's a guy that has struggled the first 2 games. He didn't play against really good defense. He struggled. Didn't play against a really good defense, and the Broncos defense struggled again and has thrown I believe 6 picks in his first 2 games or something ridiculous like that. And the Cardinals defense, they're not that good. So he needs to have a bounce back game, in my opinion. I think that I will be looking forward to see how he responds after his 2 bad clunkers that he had the first 2 games of his career.
Absolutely. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to get it done. I mean, he's got to play the Cardinals this upcoming Sunday, and then he's got to play the Bengals in prime time. And I'm looking forward to seeing Trevor Lawrence go up against Joe Burrow here. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play the LA Rams. I love Tom Brady. And do you have any thoughts on that game? And do you think that Tampa Bay will go 3-0 against the LA Rams?
We've had a lot of crazy games to start the NFL season, but this might be the game of the year because you have Matthew Stafford, the high-powered Rams offense, going up against Tom Brady, the high-powered Bucs offense, and, the Bucs great defense, Rams great defense, 2 teams very, very well coached. This could definitely be the game of the year, and we could be looking at an NFC Championship preview on Sunday.
Absolutely. We want to welcome Big B to the show. And Big B, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Doing okay. Just got off work. Saw you guys chatting. Isaiah with his wild takes like normal. But so what's up? What do we got to talk about?
We were just talking about which week 3 games am I looking forward to, what we are looking forward to the most. And do you have any in your mind, Brandon?
I know the Packer-Niner game is going to be a big one for me. To see what kind of Aaron Rodgers we get. Do we get week 1 Aaron Rodgers or do we get week 2 Aaron Rodgers? And then the big game I think is, I don't know. I heard you guys talk about game of the week, but I think it's going to be the Bucs and the Rams. I think that's going to be the game of the week.
Isaiah and I were just talking about that. What do you expect from that game?
Whew. I think it's going to be high scored. I wouldn't be surprised if, you're looking at mid-30s for both teams, unless the Rams defense can get to Tom Brady before he gets that ball out of there. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a shootout.
It is. Now going back to our comment section. So Justin Bosman said he's looking forward to Bucs and Rams. Everybody is here, and he thinks the Chargers will beat the Chiefs. I'm like, that defense of the Chargers, if they can't get to Mahomes or Tyreek Hill or something like that, then they're in for a long, long day. And he said, my long-lost brother, the Chargers will win. I'm like, I wouldn't be shocked if they won, but it might be a big upset if that happens. So
that would be an upset, I think.
Justin said, Isaiah, the Chargers will win, my man. Justin Herbert will ball out. Do you have any sayings on that?
I think Justin Herbert will ball out because that Chiefs defense, like we saw that first week and the second week against the Ravens, they're just not that good. I mean, you can bend, don't break so much until you finally break. So I think that the Justin Herbert will have a great game, but it's up to his defense to see if they end up winning the game.
Absolutely. So anyways, now let's talk about some hoops. So the Minnesota Timberwolves have fired president of basketball operations, Jerson Rojas, less than a week before training camp. And also, Big B, since you're from Minnesota, what's your reaction on the Minnesota Timberwolves making this move?
Well, at first it was a shocker because they didn't really come out with anything about it. And then I was listening to some local radio show here, and there's rumors that he had inappropriate relations with a staff member. I don't know how true that is or what, but a week before training camp starts, that's kind of a shocker. I know they're in talks or rumors that Ben Simmons wants to come here, and they're talking with him, so I don't know how that's going to affect that, if at all. Maybe the Wolves don't have what they want. But yeah, I mean, a week before training camp, it's kind of shocking to hear that story come out, but it's the Wolves.
And what about you, Isaiah? What's your thoughts on that?
I was extremely stunned because I thought that Gerson Rosas was doing a good job with the Timberwolves, getting D'Angelo Russell, getting all the young players that they had. And then, you fire him a week before training camp. That rarely happens in the NBA. You don't dismiss your president of basketball operations, your chief decision maker in the front office a week before training camp, unless there's something that happened behind the scenes that we don't know about. That probably was like really, really big and really egregious. So I was shocked at first, like Big B, but then I read the reports from Woj and Shams and those guys, and also Jake Fisher, who came on our show one time, did a really good job when we had him. And they reported that basically what Big B said, the rumors were true. He had an affair with a female coworker in the front office, and you just don't do that. I don't care if you're working, in a lumber yard or anything like that. You just don't do that. You have to maintain a professional relationship with that person, or else it gets just really weird and awkward and stuff like that, especially when the leader of the company is having an affair, and who knows, maybe he's giving her all the power and all the decision making for some stuff. So it's the Timberwolves, like Brandon said. These type of stuff always seem to happen to them. But I'm not shocked after reading the report that he got fired, because I would have definitely fired him after this happened. And also I guess like he had like a terrible work culture or something like that. Like he blocked one of their top lieutenants from interviewing for a higher job with the Rockets, and you just don't do that because you have to respect everybody. So it just seemed like the guy was a total mess, and it was such a toxic situation in Minnesota.
I mean, if you look at it, the Timberwolves are just dysfunctional. I mean, I have no comment further to say anything about it, but anyways, now let's talk about Ben Simmons. So Ben Simmons is done with the Sixers and will not report to Sixers camp and will hold out until Philly trades him. And my thoughts about that is that Ben Simmons, I believe that I don't blame him. He wants to go on a team that he can contribute, be that man that could shoot the clutch shots and all that. But is he a fit for the 76ers? Doc Rivers said he believes that the Sixers can win a championship with Ben Simmons. I totally think he does have what it takes to be a great player, but there are just times that he just He misses costly free throws. He misses costly shots. He's a good assist guy and a good triple-doubles machine kind of guy, but he's just a guy that just can't really shoot. That's why if the Sixers trade him to a team that could use his services, then the Sixers could get another point guard in return, and that they could fulfill their needs of shooting. You're going to have Joel Embiid shoot the ball every single night, or especially when you want the ball at the last shot. Isaiah, let me start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on this Ben Simmons thing? And I kind of think if there was a trade destination for Ben Simmons, I think he should go to a team that I think should a team that needs that is contending, a contender team, maybe the Clippers or something like that. Do you have any thoughts on that? And also, what's your trade destination for Ben Simmons if you want him traded?
I'm going to start first with the news about him, sitting out the season or threatening to sit out the season if he doesn't get traded. I don't know if he's actually going to do it, because the Sixers, what they could just do is just keep finding him and finding him and finding him. And, you can see, like, I'm going to sit out the season. But then when the money gets way, way, way too high in fines, then you're obviously going to come back. I mean, let's say like it's like a $1 million fine, every week he doesn't show up. And the NBA season, I believe, is like 82 games. It's like from October, November, December, January. It's like 6 months. So by the time, like, let's say he does sit out the season, he's probably going to be paying over $70 million in fines. Are you really going to do that? You're going to pay $70 million in fines just to not show up because you don't play for that team anymore? I don't think he's going to actually sit out the entire season. I think he's going to sit out like the beginning part of the season, and I think he's going to finally show up because he doesn't want to pay all that fine money, like that $60-70 million fine money, if he did sit out the entire season. Because right now, I don't think he really has that much leverage, because he's got 4 years left on his current contract. And Philadelphia, they don't even have to trade him. They can just wait until they get the perfect package to their liking, and then they can trade him. So I don't think he's going to sit out the entire season. I think he's going to sit out like a little bit of the beginning of the season and do what James Harden did and show up like not in shape and all that stuff and play absolutely terrible basketball and try to force his way out like that. And as far as, trade destinations go, I would say Golden State, because, everybody's mentioned that, like, they're such a perfect fit. Maybe he's a young guy. Maybe he can be the guy that can extend your dynasty, with Curry, Thompson, those guys getting older. You could swap Draymond Green for Ben Simmons, who kind of does the same things that Draymond Green does as well for this Golden State Warriors, and maybe you can extend your dynasty that way and get younger. So I would say Golden State for me is my preferred trade destination for Ben Simmons.
That would be good for the Warriors. I mean, they definitely would like to get another dynasty there. So, Big B, what's your thoughts on the Ben Simmons situation, and do you think he's going to get traded?
Yeah, he'll get traded. I mean, a lot of these NBA players will sit out for a while, like Isaiah said, and come in out of shape and play, poor, and then get moved. I heard the asking price right now is just outrageous. It's like 3 first-round picks or something like that. How long is this contract good for? A year or two, or do we know
4
that?
years.
4 years. Okay, so it's going to have to be a contending team, because if you take them to somebody like Detroit or Minnesota that's not contending, so you get them for maybe a year and a half until he starts griping about it, and then you're trading them off. You probably get half of what you just traded them for. So it's going to have to be a team that's contending. He's going to have to come around to his shooting. I heard a lot of people say that he's not that shooter. He passes out of easy shots and stuff like that. So, I hate to say it, but I think probably the perfect destination for him, I mean, the Warriors is a good one, but I think the Lakers have to put their name in the hat and see, but I don't know if they got the assets to do it, but I think if anybody could probably get Simmons on the right track would be LeBron.
That could happen, but I don't think it's
You
going
would
to
have to
happen.
trade Westbrook, though. You would have to trade Russ.
Yeah, so
I
yeah,
honestly don't mind thinking about it because Russ, he's older. I mean, Simmons is younger. You could build maybe like a younger
yeah, but
Simmons.
you still have to throw draft picks in there, and how many draft picks do the Lakers want to give up?
I don't
I
think
mean,
you're
that's
gonna
going to
have
be the
draft
key.
picks anymore.
I mean, that's the key is what team's going to want to give up 3, 4, 5 draft picks for a guy. If you're not contending, he's only going to be there for a year and a half. He ain't going to finish off the 4 years. So we'll see what happens, but I think he'll be traded.
All right. So, anyways, I do think that Ben Simmons will get traded here. So now on to our final topic here, to the baseball segment. So we'll also be breaking down the standings. So let's start with Isaiah's team. So the Mariners defeat the A's 6-5 and sweep the A's in a 4-game series in Oakland. Isaiah, you have a lot to say on that. And then we're going to talk about the Dodgers as well.
Well, you might as well take all your A's gear right now and dump it in the trash can or put it in a suitcase and save it for next season because and I'm glad that my guy Callan McClurg is not watching because he would never let me hear the end of it. Please don't tag him in the comment section. But the season's over, man. The season's over. This was a pivotal series for the A's. This was a huge series for the A's because, the Mariners were, I believe, 3 games back of you or 2 games back of you, and you had a chance to maybe make the playoffs because I believe coming in you were 2 games back of Toronto, and Toronto lost twice during the series. So if you had won 3 out of 4, you'll be 1 game back of the final wild card spot. But instead, you lose all 4 games, and you lose all 4 games in different fashion. It was the first 2-3 nights. The pitching was great. The pitching was really good. And then the hitting doesn't show up. The offense just doesn't show up. Everybody's swinging at the first pitch or just, it's strike 1, strike 2, and strike 3, and he goes back to the bench. That's how frustrating it was. Everybody was trying to hit a home run. And I was, talking to my coworkers. I was like, what are these guys doing, man? There's no working the counts anymore you always see with the A's. They don't work the counts. They don't work the pitchers. They don't, steal bases like they did in the beginning of the season. They just swing at every pitch, attempting to try to hit a home run, and they always strike out. So, and then today it was the opposite. It was the offense came alive. We scored 4 runs, I believe, in the first 5 innings of this game. We had a 4-1 lead, and then the pitching craps the bed. Bassett was great, and I got to give a big shout out to him because, this guy, I don't think anybody expected him. When he got hit by that line drive, that 100-mile-an-hour plus line drive 5 weeks ago, I don't think anybody even expected him to pitch the rest of the season. We were all talking about him who knows, is his career done? Because, if he gets hit on certain part of the eye, it could really damage it, and he could be, blinded and stuff like that. We thought that we didn't even know if he was going to be able to pitch for the rest of his career, and he comes back five weeks later nothing happens and just goes out there and dominates. So Chris Bassett, big shout out to you, my man. You're an absolute hero and a warrior. But Bassett, he leaves after 3 shutout innings, and then James Caprillion and the rest of the bullpen just gives it up. It was just like that. They just gave it up. All of a sudden, Seattle had a 6-4 lead, and the offense just kept striking out. So the season is over. The A's are now 4.5 back with 8 or 9 games left to play. It's done. But the only chance they have to maybe make the playoffs is if they win the final 9 games that they have, which is against Houston for a 3-game set in Oakland, and then Seattle, and then Houston. They have to sweep all of those guys, sweep all 9 games, and hope Toronto, New York, and Boston either lose out or lose half of the remaining 9 games. That's not going to happen. Pack it up. Get all your A's gear. Either dump it in the trash can or put it in the suitcase. Pack it up. See you guys next year.
And Big B, what's your thoughts on the Oakland A's losing to the Mariners?
Anything to get Isaiah going is always fun to see because he always throws those rant videos up every time his team loses or one of his million teams loses. But I'm kind of shocked that Oakland's kind of fallen. I thought that for sure they'd be up there. Houston's up there. I kind of thought that was going to be the team that would fall. But Seattle proving that they're scrappy. They're a scrappy team. So I believe now they're a game and a half out of that last playoff spot, or I think because I thought it was 2.5. So I could be wrong. But no, I would love to see Seattle kind of sneak in there and take a spot away from the Yankees or the Blue Jays, and maybe if the Red Sox start falling again. But we'll see what happens. But Oakland, yeah, kind of shocking that they've kind of fallen off. I know Billy Beane is being targeted by the Mets as coming in and heading up their player personnel or whatever. So we'll see where that goes too.
Yeah, we'll have to see where that goes, that's for sure. So anyways, folks, so now let's talk about the Dodgers. So the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from the Colorado Rockies. They beat them 7-5 in 10 innings, and the Dodgers still remain 1 game back of the Giants after the Giants lost today to the Padres. So Isaiah, I'm going to get your take on this first. So with the Dodgers taking 2 out of 3 from the Rockies, they win another series. That's something that they got to take care of. Do you still think that the Dodgers are still going to win this NL West? It is getting tough.
It's going to come down to the final week of the season. I really do believe that. I think it's going to come down to the final week. It might even come down to the final weekend of the season to decide who wins the NL West. But it's going to be a really, really close race, and I'm really, really looking forward to it because who expected the Giants to be this good this season? I certainly didn't expect the San Francisco Giants to be this good. But, Loro, the thing I wanted to add before we moved on to this topic was I got to wave the white flag on this too. I waved the white flag on the A's season. I said, pack it up, put all your A's gear in a suitcase and, rub your hands of it or burn it or whatever. Just cancel the season. I had a take earlier this season that I would take Sean Murphy over Fernando Tatis Jr. in terms of future outlook. And also, I would take Matt Chapman. And I got to say this, and I hope Callan's not watching. I really hope he's not watching.
Oh, he's watching.
But I got to concede. Fernando Tatis Jr. is an absolute stud. He's an absolute monster. This dude is going to be the future face of baseball. It's not going to be Sean Murphy. Sean Murphy is an automatic strikeout. Heck, I don't even want Bob Melvin to run him out in the starting lineup anymore because literally the guy is either every time he comes to the plate, he either swings at pitches at his ankles or swings at pitches at his neck. So, Sean Murphy is definitely not going to be the future face of baseball. Who knows? He might be out of Oakland next year. We don't know with how terrible he's playing. And Matt Chapman, even though I like him a lot, he's not going to be the future face of baseball. He's a great third baseman, though, but he doesn't even look like he deserves a minor league contract with the way he's playing right now. But that's all.
Yeah, so now on to the Dodgers real quick, Isaiah. We're going to talk about that. So the Dodgers took 2 out of 3 from the Rockies, and you think that this Dodger team, you said that this is going to come down to the final weekend of the season, or maybe game 163. The Dodgers take on the Diamondbacks this weekend, Isaiah. Is there a chance the Dodgers can just sweep the Diamondbacks out of the gate in Arizona?
They better sweep the Diamondbacks. If you don't sweep the Diamondbacks, then obviously you have problems because today I believe the Braves, they somehow, some way let the Diamondbacks come all the way back and ended up losing that game, and my Phillies took advantage. But yeah, I think the Dodgers definitely ought to sweep the Diamondbacks. They have to keep pace in the division because the Giants, they're not going to be losing 2 out of 3 anytime soon.
Yeah, their schedule gets a bit easier down the stretch. So, Brandon, what's your thoughts on the Dodgers taking 2 out of 3 from the Rockies? What do you expect from them in their next series against the Arizona Diamondbacks?
How can you not sweep the Rockies? I don't know. But, yeah, if they don't sweep the Diamondbacks, they got a little bit of problems. I mean, granted, 1 game. But they should be looking to sweep out the Diamondbacks. But, I mean, the Giants, like you guys have said, are just on fire right now. And they're not going to lose 2 out of 3 or lose a game that they should win. I'll tell you right now, if I was in Vegas, I'd be putting my money on a game 163 between these two. I could see a game 163 to determine who's going to get that top seed.
That definitely will happen. That definitely could happen, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. But anyways, now Isaiah, let's talk about so the Dodgers. We have a comment here from Justin Bosman, and he thinks the St. Louis Cardinals are going to make the final wild card spot. And I'm going to say absolutely they will. I think they've earned. They're not. You don't count out the Cardinals down the stretch. And I think with the way the Padres have been playing and the way the Reds have been playing, it's kind of like the Cardinals are pretty much taking that second wild card spot handily. What are your thoughts on that, Isaiah?
I'm of the mindset too now. I think that because my NL team is the Phillies and they're in that race with, I believe, the Padres. There's a couple of more teams. I think the Reds are in there as well. And I'm of the mindset that the Phillies just can't get that last wild card spot because the Cardinals are just too hot. They've won like 11 or 12 in a row, and they're playing really, really good baseball right now. They're pitching really well. Their lineup is red hot, and they just went into Milwaukee and swept the Brewers. So they're just playing too well right now, and I think the Cardinals have that all locked up.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals do have all that locked up, that's for sure. So, anyways, let's talk about your Phillies for a moment here. So they're a game back of the Braves. And is there a chance that you could see the Phillies making it to the playoffs, or do you think they need to or do you think they're going to miss the playoffs and you think they need to address pitching in the offseason?
I think the Phillies absolutely have a shot to make the playoffs, but it's all going to come down to next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, when you have the Phillies against the Atlanta Braves at Truist Field in Atlanta. I think that 3-game series is going to determine who wins the NL East, because when you look at it right now, the Phillies are, I believe, 2 games back. The Braves lost today. The Phillies came from 6-0 down, and they beat the Pittsburgh Pirates. So they're 2 back, and they have 3 games left against the Pirates, while Atlanta's got 3 games left in San Diego against the Padres. So if the Padres take like 2 out of 3, and the Phillies take either they sweep the Pirates or they take 3 out of 4 from the Pittsburgh Pirates, you realistically could see the Phillies and Braves tied for the NL East going into the final 3 games, and whoever wins that series against the Phillies and Braves series in Atlanta next week, I think for sure is going to win the NL East, because you're going to be up either you could potentially be up 3 games, or you could potentially be up 1 or 2 games entering the final series, and the winner gets the tiebreaker, but with the head-to-head. So you're going to be up a lot. So whoever wins that series next week in Atlanta is going to win the NL East.
You're absolutely right about that. So what about you, Big B? So you think that if the Phillies and Braves like split, you think that this series coming up between those two will determine who will win the National League East?
So it's a 3-gamer or a 4-gamer coming up?
It's
3 games. Okay. So right now, Philly, from what Isaiah said, is 1 back, or you guys said he's 1 back? Philly's 2 back. Okay. So Philly's 2 back, so they would have to take all 3. That would put them a game ahead. So, man, it's tough. I mean, the Braves are tough too, and yeah, I think whoever comes out ahead of this series could take that division. So we'll see what happens.
But Big B, you also got to take into consideration that the Phillies have 3 more, I believe, against the Pirates, and also the Braves have to play the Padres for 3 games this weekend. So they could be tied going into that series, honestly.
Yeah, they could be tied. They could be up. I mean, it's gonna be a fight, just like the West there. It's gonna be a battle.
Yeah, it is going to be a battle, that's for sure. So anyways, folks, it has been a great night shift show. But anyways, it is time now for final thoughts. Great show, and my final thoughts, I want to thank all the viewers that tuned in tonight, especially Justin Bosman. I also want to thank Penguano and friends for tuning in today, and also David Lucas for tuning in today as well. So, Isaiah, what are your final thoughts today? Even though that you joined late, but do you think that next week you'll join me, but on schedule?
Yeah, I think that next week I'll be on schedule for sure. But I want to take the time to echo what Laurel said. I want to thank Justin Bossman. I want to thank Callan McClurg. I want to thank, let's see, there's like a lot of comments that we got, which is great. I want to thank, I believe we had some from Twitch. I don't know who is it from Twitch that tuned into our program tonight. And we have David Lucas and also Ishmael Lancaster and Penguino and friends. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, by the way, but thank you so much for tuning in to the program. We really, really appreciate you guys for tuning in. But my final thoughts is, once again, I just want to say how it was a great show. And I also want to say how, just an incredible comeback by my guy, Chris Bassett today. Like I said earlier, who knew when he first got hit by that 100-mile-an-hour line drive to the face that he would even be able to continue pitching and continue his MLB career, much less be able to pitch 5 weeks later. And he comes back 5 weeks later like nothing happened, just absolutely dominates on the mound. So absolute warrior and absolute just a really great story by Chris Bassett. So bravo to him, and hopefully he can have a really strong final start next week in Houston and have a great year next season in 2022.
Absolutely. And then Big B, what are your final thoughts tonight?
No, I'm glad I got to jump on for the last 20 or so minutes. It's always fun to talk sports with all you guys from MI6 and from coast to coast. But outside of that, baseball's wrapping up. We're going to have a week here with some divisions, some wild card spots. Wish my Twins could have done something, but had to wave the white flag probably back in April because that's when they started stinking. So, but outside of that, thanks for everybody that joined and commented. So, great show, guys.
Yeah, it was a great show. For Big B, for the Asian Skip Bayless, Isaiah Leong, and also producer Stephen Wang. Loro signing off for now. Have a great rest of your night. And also, for those who didn't get to watch, check out our program today on YouTube, and I'll also post it on my Facebook and Instagram pages. Have a great rest of your night. I'll see you tomorrow on Wild Sports Talk and on the Extra Point on Sunday.